Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and XRP is bumping up a little bit off of the pullback this morning. It's at $2.11 now. It had gotten on down there, I think around $2.02. I bought the dip right there at the bottom of this thing. Proudly bought the dip. Okay, Trump Organization files trademark for Trump with plans to launch a metaverse and NFT trading platform. How about them apples? A lot of reasons to be positive right now. Here's one. Number of margin long positions on Bitfinex has increased to over 60,000 Bitcoin with a 2% increase over the past 24 hours. Traders can only take so much selling before they're going to flip the script, folks. Breaking CME Group to launch Solana futures on March 17th. Bullish for Solana. This is, of course, the VC pump gang making sure politically that their thing gets through the door. You will see this with XRP as well. You'll see XRP futures. That's the precursor to the launch of the ETFs. It's going to be happening. List of Bitcoin corrections in the run-up to 20K in 2017. These are all the corrections that happened back then, okay? As high as minus 41%. Here's the list of Bitcoin corrections in the run-up to 69,000 in 2021. And these are all pullbacks. There was one as much as 55%. This is not, this is history repeating. This is part of going through these things. But the difference is this time we get regulation, and then all bets are off. I think the regulation is going to take us out of the way the previous cycles have worked, and we're going to, I think that it sets the stage, not just for crypto prices going up, but an IPO frenzy, merger frenzy, buyout frenzy, VC money pouring back in. It's coming. Doesn't matter what the market's doing. Now, I told Trump and Pam Bondi, you've been watching all the stuff with the island guy and all the drama going on. And this was a letter from the Attorney General Pam Bondi to the FBI. Basically, it was kind of like a letter going in there to let Kash Patel know, and I'm pretty sure that she's putting this on the record. I asked for the Epstein files, and they said they gave me everything, and I've got an informant that's telling me, or a whistleblower that's saying there's thousands of documents at the Southern District of New York, where the FBI and that's where James Comey, of Russiagate fame, his daughter is one of the assistant attorneys, I believe, there. She actually was in charge of the island guy's case. Here's the other person. Remember when Trump appointed Jay Clayton as U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York? I don't know if he's working there yet, but that doesn't mean he doesn't have influence. And I said here, we warned you. We tried to warn you. You remember, he's the same guy that replaced Leon Black over at Apollo because of Leon Black's ties to Jeffrey Epstein. Look at Patrick McHenry. He's continuing to cash in. Patrick McHenry, who never subpoenaed Gary Gensler. Same Patrick McHenry, who never lifted a finger to expose ETHgate, never called for an investigation into the SEC and Bill Hinman, who then yesterday accepted an advisor position with A16Z right beside Bill Hinman. Now he's going to be he's going to be, what is he going to be? Joining Ondo Finance as vice chairman of the advisory board. So I said cashing in left and right. That guy is what's wrong with our politicians, folks. You telling me that none of his decisions were affected by getting the A16Z advisor position? Makes me sick. Here's Looney Tune Max Kaiser.
The world is beginning to understand that Bitcoin is really going to be the world reserve currency. And you see what's happening in the United States, Mike. President Trump has announced he wants to create a Bitcoin strategic reserve. They want to buy 1 million Bitcoin. That would be very interesting. I think it's highly problematic for them because of the incredible debt load that the United States carries, roughly $100 trillion in debt and unfunded liabilities. So that's a huge obstacle for them. But you see where these countries are going. They all have a position on Bitcoin. Germany sold their Bitcoin and they're suffering as a result of it. The United Kingdom is not Bitcoin friendly. They're suffering as a result of it.
Well, they're not suffering right now, by the way.
El Salvador is Bitcoin friendly and we are booming. So really the 21st century is defined by those who are getting in line with the Bitcoin protocol and what it means and what it can do for your country, and those countries that are falling by the wayside.
And of course, he worked for Russia Today. I always remember Dan Pena saying that Russia was behind Bitcoin to destroy the U.S. economy. Now look at this. This is an interesting take from Glenn Beck on, we've been talking about the audit of Fort Knox. Listen to this.
I really believe if we check all 4 vaults, there's got to be gold in all 4, right? I mean, if it wasn't that way, America would be over. But we're only asking to see this vault and only one room, possibly in dozens of rooms. We need to see all of them. And then we also need to see all of the vaults like at the same time, because could you imagine? I mean, you're sitting there and you're like, okay, I'm going to go to Fort Knox. Look, it's there. And why don't you join us next week? Because next week we're going to go to West Point. Yeah, see, it's there. And then next week we're going to go to Denver. And look, it's there. And then we're going to go to... We have to open them all at once to make sure that we're not just moving gold, the same gold. In the late 1980s, an author named Christopher Weber was summoned to Virginia farm of a wealthy businessman named Edward Durrell. Durrell had spent over a decade and tens of thousands of dollars researching the status of U.S. gold reserve. Durrell's research led him to conclude that there was basically no gold left at Fort Knox. We don't know. Essentially, he claimed the gold had been siphoned off to the Federal Reserve in New York and eventually sold to Europe. Well, that could have happened. Durrell was nearing the end of his life and wanted Weber to write a book based on all of his research. Weber had previously helped write a 1982 book by Congressman Ron Paul titled The Case for Gold. Weber went on to write about Durrell's research, including an interesting visit Durrell received from the General Accounting Office in 1975. Durrell had hounded government officials for months, including the Treasury Secretary and Congressman, about the status of America's gold. The GAO sent 4 agents to his home to try to convince him that it was all there, buddy. It was just a few months after that Fort Knox visit I mentioned earlier when a group of journalists and politicians were allowed to view one of the vault rooms full of gold. One of the GAO agents admitted to Edward Durrell and later confirmed in a letter to him that, quote, "We analyzed, as agreed, the gold bar schedules for Fort Knox and found that fine gold in good delivery form, 0.995 or better, at Fort Knox totaled 24 million ounces of gold from the 701 million ounces that were supposed at the peak." So wait, I mean, that's less than 10% of the 264 million that we have. What happened to it?
Bingo. Okay, this was put out by Digital Perspectives. Giancarlo, good reminder here.
All good.
Giving them a standard set of technological protocols to use. So in short, our proposal, I think, is a quite simple one. And that is that there be a independent enterprise. Now, it can be a quasi-governmental. There's certainly a role for strict standards and government role in this. But having been in the government, knowing how difficult it is to actually do technological innovation in government, being a representative of government that couldn't build a medical website, and after 3 tries, eventually went to the private sector to get it done. this has really got to be built, if it's going to be built on time and built, it's got to be built with private sector involvement. Protocols available.
I think you get the picture. Now here is, this is interesting, from 9 years ago, David Schwartz answering a question, is it possible USD becomes the reserve currency of Ripple protocol network?
Now, it's different with dollars. With dollars, they connect to the real world, the non-electronic world, in various ways. And so in order to make a dollar electronic, someone has to hold that dollar and someone that you trust to pay you back that dollar on demand. Now, this is exactly what banks do in traditional payment systems. If I want to pay you money and I have $50 in my pocket, I'm probably not going to mail it to you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have that $50 in a bank and I'm going to send you a check. Mm-hmm. But the important thing to understand about the way that trust works in Ripple is that it doesn't matter whether the sender and recipient trust the same party. So I can trust a local bank in my country or my city. You can trust a local bank in your country or your city to hold the funds. And the payments just work perfectly smoothly. So it's not like a big central system where everybody has to trust the same party, but somebody has to hold the funds, and the individuals who put those funds in the system have to trust those people who hold it. It's the same thing that you do with a check. Like if you want to receive money, you have a bank account somewhere and people pay you by making that bank owe you more money. And you're trusting the bank that they'll pay you that money. If the bank disappeared and didn't pay you that money, then those payments, you wouldn't actually be able to materialize the funds from those payments. One of the things that we're working on is getting regulated financial institutions that have FDIC insurance and analogous protections in other countries to be those trusted entities to hold the funds. That's another reason it's important to get financial institutions on Ripple. You're already trusting financial institutions to hold your money. So if you can use your local financial institutions, then it really isn't any additional trust.
Now, to address the value of XRP for our listeners and for that guy.
Well, obviously, it's hard to predict the future, and there's certainly no such thing as a sure thing. Risk and reward always come in pairs. Mm-hmm. So the thinking is that if you have a large number of currencies on the Ripple network and a large number of institutions issuing them, it will be very difficult to find a direct path between two currencies. So if you have US dollars issued by a local chain and you want to pay somebody in Guatemala who gets cash at his grocery store, the probability that there'll be someone offering to trade one of those currencies directly for the other is pretty low, and that the liquidity will probably be through some intermediary currency. Mm-hmm. The Ripple network has a native intermediary currency called XRP, or sometimes called Ripples. And the advantage of Ripples is that there is no counterparty. There's nobody. It works just like Bitcoin. Your Ripple balance is just a number on your Ripple account on the Ripple network. And the theory is that because XRP doesn't require any trust or anything in common, it can flow between any two accounts. You don't have to agree to have somebody hold it for you. And so if that becomes the premier intermediary currency, then two types of people will want to hold XRP. One will be people who don't know what currency they'll need next. If the path from dollars to euros tends to go through XRP, then if you don't know whether you'll need dollars or euros, it makes sense to hold XRP because then you only have to pay half the spread. And then the other thing is market makers. If you're just trying to make a market and people who are selling their dollars want XRP because that's what they need to buy euros, then if you want to be able to buy dollars, XRP is the currency that you're going to need to hold to buy them. If that's the way it plays out, then the demand for XRP will go up and therefore the price will go up. Mm-hmm. But again,
you like that? Okay, if you want to join DAIXRP.com, go there, and that's through the Patreon, or you can click below this video, click the join button to join it through YouTube if you would prefer to do it that way. It's extended videos, and there are no advertisements if you are in the group. Okay, so we're going to go in, we're going to talk to you about what's about to happen with all this island guy drama, and I'm going to show you what a lot of guys are starting to say about where this XRP / altcoin market is about to go. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button, tell your friends and family, away we go.